Hey guys, what's up? Eddie Yahoo here with KissAnalog.com. Today, I'm in the lab with Fnirsi. Got these Fnirsi products. You know, they reached out, they said, hey, you want to review one of our products? And I went to their store and I picked out this soldering station. I want to show it to you. It looks a lot like a station that costs a lot more money that has a big name. So, when you see it, and if you know soldering stations, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I want to see if it performs. And I have another soldering station right over here that is also one of those stations that looks like the expensive one. And this one right here, here's a tip. The thing about these tips, well, I'm going to talk about the tips in a moment here. But one thing that's nice is I can have it over there. You guys can't even see it. And if I'm soldering something over here, it reaches. So that's something nice. Let's see. I don't know. I'm guessing this one's going to have a cord similar length, but we'll see. But that's a nice feature. So what are some of the features you want in a soldering station? You know, back in the day, Weller soldering stations were the industry de facto standard here in the United States. Just every company I went to had Weller soldering stations. And then there's a couple other brands, not quite as popular as the Wellers, but there were a couple other competitors. So, you know, these days there's more competitors out there. One I think is kind of interesting is Hakko. Now it's not Hakko, it's Hakko. But anyway, I've heard some people pronounce it Hakko. One guy who just loves them, he pronounces it Hakko. But yeah, that's actually not correct. From what I understand, it's Hakko. That's the way I've pronounced it for many years. So back in the day when I used Tektronix oscilloscopes and I used the yellow multimeters and I did all the brand name stuff, the Weller soldering stations were kind of expensive. So I went out and found, well, I read on them, about them, because back then we didn't have the internet. So anyway, I read in magazines and I saw the Hakko. So I saw the Hakko was, you know, it was Japanese, and I thought, well, they build good stuff. And actually, before I bought my Tektronix scope, my first oscilloscope was a Japanese oscilloscope. So anyway, yeah, they were like, you know, I thought, okay, that's good enough for me. I'm not soldering all the time. And I've had it for years. It's down here in a box right now because the plastic got so brittle. I was moving it and I kind of accidentally jolted it on the bench and it hit something and it just shattered. And I was like, wow. But I mean, it's, you know, 30 years old. But they still make stations very similar to that. Anyway, soldering stations. We used stations that weren't anywhere near as nice as the ones we have today, and they were expensive back then. And so today, you get ones like this that look pretty amazing for a low cost, okay? So one of the things you want is a hot soldering tip, obviously. But I'm going to show you the difference between two different types of tips. The one I had on my Hakko, which they're still around, those kind of tips are not near as good as kind of tips that come on this one. And I want to show you why. They work great, but these work better, okay? The other thing, so when you pick out a soldering station, you pick out, you know, one that would have the kind of tips that you'd want, which that's not too hard of a thing. But then also, you'd pick it out for how much watts it has, because you might have to heat up some, you know, big solder joints where you're putting terminals on a power supply or something like that. You need to get some heat on there. And you might be in a power amplifier with some pretty good sized terminals and you need to get some heat on them. So you'd want something with a little more watts, like say something around 90 watts or 100 watts instead of the typical 20 to 45 watts, somewhere in that range. So, and I'm not even sure what ranges they fall in today, but that was kind of the thing, right? So this is a 200 watt station, so plenty of power. The other thing is those two tips. I'm going to show you the difference between them. The big difference is one like this, it keeps the heat more constant, and it can do it quicker with this kind of tip and with this kind of power. It's got this kind of power that's capable of. It's good. It's got a lot of power that it's capable of, even though it's not putting out that much power most of the time. It's just keeping the temperature, but it's got, it's like it's like you're in a race car, but you got to stay at 50 miles an hour. You can because you got the power. So it's kind of like that. And, if you have to slow down to go around in a slower car and get around, you can make those movements quick, right? So in control theory, if you adjust something and it starts soaking up heat and then you bring up the power, it's kind of this linear fashion, right? So that's what they call the control theory PID, and proportional is that linear thing, where we're sucking in more power, so I'm going to twist up the control knob, get a little more heat out. And the old knobs, that's how you would do it. And even some stations say over that way. You just turn up the power a little bit, it controls it, and then when you're done soldering that big old thing, then you drop it back down and it drops the heat down, and that's proportional control. And then there's the thing where you start to touch it and something you're soldering, and it slowly starts pulling heat out of it, and you have to slowly ramp the temperature up, and that's kind of an integral. That's the I. So it integrates the curve. It's kind of a smoother thing, okay? And then you have the D. That's the differential. That's where you touch it and it immediately drops. It's kind of a transient thing. And so when you have PID, what that means is the control and this is capable of monitoring the temperature, doing it all three ways all at the same time. So it doesn't shoot the temperature past where you want it and overheat something, and it doesn't take too long to compensate when the heat starts getting pulled out during a transient. So and then linearly, it's capable of a lot of power if it has to. So that's the PID thing in a nutshell. Okay, so I'm gonna bring you over, open up this box, and show you what's inside. I'm on the website, when I looked at it, like I've said before, I review things before I say, yeah, send it to me. And honestly, to be honest, I never really wanted to review one of their multimeters just because I saw some other people review them, and I saw some reviews, pro and some con and that kind of thing. So I thought, I don't know. There's plenty of meters out there, so I just kind of passed them up. But when they sent me this, they also sent me these things. Now, I've only played with these for a little bit because I wanted to get some use, see how they work before I show them to you. But I'm really impressed, actually, guys. And like this guy down here, this internal resistance tester for batteries and that, this thing right here is really cool. One guy pointed out in the comments is that he didn't get it for battery testing. He did it just for testing milliohms. So I did a whole thing on cables, and I've got an expensive LCR meter up here. I've got some other LCR meters to read the low R, the milliohms. But this, I tested it out, and totally makes sense. It's great for me reading milliohms. So if you want to read your connections on a cable on a circuit board or whatever. Anyway, so I think that's just a really neat meter. It's like right around $40 or under $40 on sale, I think. Links down below, please. Anyway, so I'm really happy that they sent this to me. At first, I was like, oh, shoot, man. Okay, we'll take a look. But this looks like new packaging. It looks like, I don't know if it's different from other stuff they have. Honestly, I just didn't pay a lot of attention. But this guy right here, I was impressed with, and so that's why I asked for this. And now I'm impressed with those. So, long story short, let's come over, open up this guy, look inside, and see what you think. Oh, and by the way, because they gave them to me, I'm not doing any trickery on my camera. I'm not that good of a film editor, and I wouldn't do that anyway. So what you see is what you get. Doesn't matter if they gave it to me, if I have a prejudice or whatever, right? You got to see. Well, if I sound prejudiced, I guess you could, but you can turn down the sound. You can just look at the product, right? Okay, so anyway, let's bring the camera over and I'll show you what's inside here. All right, guys, so you can just see kind of how it's packaged, the box opening. But yeah, the box is kind of cool. It's got some information here. Let me show you the other information it has, in case you're curious about that. Some specs, there's a 200 watts, goes up to 450 C, and 475 grams. So it's universal input, 110 to 250. So there you are, DWS-200. All right, so I've had it open, and I did a little box opening on that 1 minute video stuff, so that's why I think that's what these things came out of. So these are little helping hands that came with it, which is really cool. And okay, here's a little holder. It's got there's a cable that goes from here to this, so you can ground this thing. That's what that looks like. So this is a little block that comes out of here, if I could pull it out. Trying not to stab myself with the little metal things. Here, let me pull it out of here. There, see, it's just a little rubber block. Fits down here. This is a rubberized thing right here. Silicone, probably. But anyway, so sits down there, and that's your cleaning tips. Now this right here, I'll show you, but you can use these things to pull your tips out. And this thing rotates. It's got some stiffness to it, so it doesn't rotate too easy. So you can set that where you want. And it looks like you can screw it into the side of this guy if you want to. And it looks like it only screws on one side, versus sometimes they mount it so you can screw it on either side. So that's something to be aware of if that's, you know, if that matters to you. And then here's where you can store your tips. Okay, yeah, and this is probably silicone, so yeah, anyway. Okay, another holder for tips here. So they've doubled up that shape there. And here's the unit, power button. We're gonna have to get the display turned on. And there's where that thing screws in. You know, there's one on this side too, so that's kind of interesting. I wonder if these, I was wondering if this thing moved, but yeah, I don't know. That's interesting because, oh, you know what? I know what those things are, guys. You know what? This doesn't, oh, I know it. You know what? I know what this thing is. It's not to mount to the base. It's, there's a little helping hand here, okay? And those two helping hands, they screw into these things, I'm sure. You got to figure out how to get them off. Oh, there we go. So yeah, these things come off, and then you can, the shape of those are just kind of rectangular, so you can get a nut driver on those, I guess, but seems like you should be able to, oh, I see, they just push in. I thought I was gonna have to screw it in. It just pushes in. Okay, and then you got your little helping hand. All right, that's pretty, I think that's pretty slick. Let me show you what else we get in this. We get this other box. And this is a nice foam insert. Keeps that, so it's going to ship to you protected, I think. Here's this box. So yeah, there's a nut to hold this helping hand onto the side of the station. Okay. Now check this out. I think this is super cool. So I think when you buy this, you decide on how many tips you want. I think one comes with 3 tips and one comes with, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thought there's 9. Oh yeah, 9. So there's 9 tips. Okay. So okay, we're gonna drop those right here. See what else is in this thing. Power cord, of course, is for US. Okay, 2 soldering irons. Now, they're slightly different size. Okay, I'll explain that. I think one's for higher power. Okay, but so you get 2. That's pretty nice, right? And then, okay, that looks like feels like a nice book. Wow, looks like it's put together pretty nice, right, guys? God, they're doing a lot better job in manuals these days, right? there's a little Fnirsi quality sticker down there that's floating around. And so here's the, well, guess may as well take them out there. Here's a helping hand that I was talking about. So it's gonna affix to that thing, and then the cord just goes in this thing, so you can, you know, lay the cord across there so it kind of keeps out of the way of the soldering station. And then this is our, that's our little, that was our little knob that goes on this guy. Okay, I'll put that together. And then here is the two banana jacks for the grounding. So yeah, I mean, they've thought of this thing. It seems like it's thought out nicely. Let's put this together. All right, so I've put this tip in here, okay? You see how they're sized kind of large, narrower, and smaller? And then the soldering tip on this end. And they just drop in, and then you grab it and pull it down and make sure it's insecure. So once it's down, you can feel that it stops, but it is a tight fit, okay? So it sits in there, and when it goes in there, this little part right here locks into here pretty well, and so the tip is kind of free floating. It's not touching anything down inside here, okay? So it's just kind of hanging there. Now, this guy here, you can put into this guy here if you want to do that, okay? But for now, right now, I'm just going to reach around the camera. Well, actually, what I want to do is I think I want to show you the back of this. So I've plugged the banana in for the jack. There's a USB-C port right here for updating firmware. And yes, you can update firmware in this. So then there's a key, and there's 5 pins. So you put the key in where it goes. You can feel the connector drop in, and then just tighten the collar up, cinch it in there so it doesn't slide out. There's an on-off switch, okay, and your power and a fuse, of course. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in a moment, but right now I've got the little helping hands on this, which when they come out, they take some room. I guess you can pinch them in like this. Yeah, so you can pinch them in. Okay, so there you go. So they don't have to spread out and take that much room. And then you can hold your thing you're soldering, okay? All right, so what I want to show you is, got some test leads there. I was measuring some stuff. But anyway, so this is the tip I have in there now, okay? HS02A1. And I also have the smaller soldering handle. Oh, actually, I got the bigger one. I meant to put the smaller one in. So, geez, I guess I just lucked out by grabbing the right tip. Okay? So, here, let's check this out. All right, guys, so what I want to do is you can move these arms around and all that kind of stuff. But what I want to do is I want to show you the two tips, right? We have the two sizes of tips, the smaller one and the bigger one, okay? Now, I've separated the 3 smaller tips right here, and I'll just show you that you got a larger barrel here and a smaller barrel on this one. So, and these are the B, HSO2B, and these are A's, okay? And then we just stick this guy down in there and stick it in there like that. Okay, so now, oh, by the way, let me just show you the tips. So there's a little small curved one, pretty sharp, okay? That's the IS. So I think generally means, you know, sharp or small, and then the S is curved, I think. I'm just guessing at this. Okay, so this one, very sharp, small tip, and that's the I, okay? And then the K is the blade. So we have a little small blade there. Okay. So that would go into this smaller tip, and we have the bigger barrel here for those. Okay. So again, back to this one. This one's probably more of the standard one that I would use most often, I'm guessing. And that came in this one, the B, okay? And here's the JS, so JS, I think S is JS, I think S is for that bent thing. Or I don't know, maybe J is. But anyway, that's a very sharp tip. And C2, let's see what that is. Okay, that is the angled one. And I know that, like, if you do the 3-hole parts, that might be your favorite tip. You want a tip that lays on the metal, you know. So here's one for, like, say a flat, like an inductor with the flat leads. That's a big one, and that's just a K. Okay, then we have the KU, which is a smaller one. The blade, okay. So the I, that's going to be this small sharp guy, okay. So I's are always the sharper needle points, it seems like. So there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when we put them in here, we just push them in. Now, if you're trying to do this one hand and it's hot, you can, you know, you can stick it into this groove. See, there's different size, and it grabs onto it, and then you just pull, okay? Then it lays down there, and then you grab the other one because it's going to be cold. You just stick it in with your hand and let this one cool off. When it cools off, then you can stick it up here into one of these guys, okay? Or do you want to put the tip down? I don't know. You won't be able to see what it is, but I'm not sure why they have the big fat ones there. But anyway, so that's the way it is, okay? So we're going to start off with this one. Let's plug it in and see what it looks like. Now, by the way, the cord, it's not super long, okay? It's probably 1 meter in length, something like that. All right, guys, so I just want to power this up and show you what things look like a little bit closer. Light comes on here, and if I push that, it says Fnirsi, and it comes up. And there's a timer left until standby. So it's in hibernation mode right now because the iron's sitting here. And it's going to go to sleep in 29 minutes and 46 seconds. Current temperature is 100 C. So it's going to put it at 100 C, and so it doesn't burn up tips if you're not using it. So it's a great way to save tips automatically. When I pull it out, look, automatically does this, put it back in, automatically senses, puts it back in a hibernation. You can see the little moon, and there's a speaker saying that the tone's playing. Now it's in heat mode. You hear a little beep, 300 C, and it's going, and that's the current temperature, so it heats up very quick. Okay, I got 3 channels. I can go over to channel, whoops, here we go. I do it that way. So I can go to, I mean, it heats up extremely fast. So temperature's up here. It's just very quick, guys. And there's a little light down here just saying that it's doing stuff, I guess. And if I put it back in here, it's going to wait a minute, and then it's going to start counting down. It's in hibernation. It's going to go down to 100 C, and then it's going to start counting down. And if I don't pull it out, it'll go into standby mode, okay? So that's just how it saves iron. But it's really neat. You have these different temperatures that you can jump to real quick. Now, can I do, yeah, I can still do, okay. Okay, so I'm in that mode. And here's the graph. Here's another thing is I can change the picture. So I can go to a graph mode. I can go to this mode, or I can go to this one. I kind of like this guy. There might be times when you want to see those other ones. Maybe you're trying to heat something up. It's difficult to do. But wow, look how fast that is. That is extremely fast. Now, if you punch this once, you go into temperature set. Now this is, when I'm setting the temperature, this is 5 degrees per step. I can lock it on off. I can change that if I wanted to. Now I'm going to see the arrows here. I'm just going to the menu. So here's 100°C. I could change the temperature of that. 30 minutes, I can change the time. I can turn that on or off so it doesn't change the temp, but I mean, it's a good idea, I think. And I think this is a neat feature as well. Now here's the 3 different temperatures. I could set those. I'll probably change those. Tell me what temperatures you guys would normally use. I would think that right around 360, 370°C is where a lot of soldering is probably done, I think. And then maybe even higher temperature for lead-free. But let me know what you guys think, okay? And then some small surface mount stuff might be lower even. But let's go through the menus. Okay, so here's temperature calibration. So you can select one of those. I think all you do is do that, and so if I had a temperature thing, I'd plug it in, it'd heat up to temperature, and then I could calibrate that so I could get a range of temperatures calibrated. And then see that return, that's this guy. So return, get back to the arrows, system settings, brightness of the display, the little speaker sound. And by the way, I guess I may as well take this off so we can see the nice shiny surface. Wow, that looks nice. And there's actually one up here too, protecting the Fnirsi. So now if I put that back in, does it? Okay, so if I'm in menus, I'm still in menus. It doesn't take me out. I wondered if it did. Okay, here's English. Reset all previous values. We're back to there. Okay, if I take this back here, all right, I'm not actually sure how I get out of the setup mode. I don't know. I guess that's one way to do it. But yeah, so now I'm in hibernate. Well, I'm in. See if I pull it out, it goes right back in, then goes right back into sleep mode. But yeah, so this looks like a really nice station. Can't wait to start using it. All right, I do have this kit. A couple circuit boards, a bunch of parts. That's something I need to start putting together. Take a board out of there, and let's see how this is going to work. Twist this around. Yeah, that'll be a nice little platform to solder to. Okay, I think that'll work. Now these guys here will spin around here on this too. You know, I think this one got bent in the package, or I wonder if it was meant to be like that. Maybe it was. It feels it's pretty hard to bend, so I think one might come bent just to give you options maybe. So guys, when I populate a board, usually I start off the small, low profile parts first and then go to the bigger parts. But since this guy's up here around big parts, I thought I'd just here's the first thing I grabbed out of the bag. That's pretty obvious where you're supposed to go. So yeah, 5-watt resistor, and have to read the ohms, probably like 1 ohm or something. But looks like there's a range of values maybe here. They can go down here, I'm not sure. You know, guys, I've had this kit so long, can't remember who it was from. You guys recognize this? It says LJM underscore LJM at foxmail.com. So I have to maybe email this guy, try to remind myself what kit this is. All right, let's see if I can solder this thing. Well, it's been to sleep for a minute. Hey, by the way, I forgot to show you this little guy here. So, you know, it's just an easy way to clean tips when you can just hit that kind of thing. But let's see if it heated up already. Look at that. It's super fast. Yeah, that's pretty darn fast, guys. All right, that's not the best solder joint, but hey, give me a break. I'm reaching around the camera, tripod, and yeah, anyway. But yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, it just heated up super fast, and I like that tip. I like the handle, feels nice. So yeah, I have to get this kit put together. Okay, so now we can see it's in standby mode. And take out the iron, and goes right back in, wakes it up. So that is, I really like that. It's really awesome. All right, guys, I told you I'd tell you something about tips, old versus new. Now this is what I call the new tip, the new type of tip, okay? They still make these kind of soldering irons, of course, but this kind of tip, the heating element is integrated into the tip. It's all one solid piece. And you can see the different polarities, you know, where you put the current into the tip, right, to heat it up. Now, this is instantaneous, like you've seen. They heat up super fast, especially when you have a big engine, a lot of wattage behind it. You can heat up this thing quickly. There's enough bulk material around here that when you touch it down on something, it doesn't instantly go away. So you want a little bit of material. But yeah, that's what I call the integrated tip versus this older style where, you know, you take off the collar, you pull off the tip. Yeah, of course, that tip does not look good. But then you have this kind of thing. Now, some of them are hollow inside and the heating element's down inside here. This one gets pushed right up against the heating element, and then this collar pushes it down against it. All right, this is an old Unger. I pulled these out of an old box. This one has a heating element right here. Looks kind of like a light bulb. And you replace this. This is a heating element. You get how many watts you want, just like a light bulb. And then you have this tip, and it screws down on this, okay? So, but the real common one is where you have a tip like the first one I showed you, except for instead of it being a blunt thing, there's a heating element like this inside the iron, and then you have a tip like this that's hollow, and this drops over the top of this heating element that sticks up inside there, and then that's how they're controlled. So different types, but these are all modular, right? You don't have the tip right next to the heating element, so and where you get your temperature and your feedback from. So with these more modular, these older style, you don't get that instant and that great control that you do in these newer type tips, okay? So hey guys, what do you think? You notice it looks a lot like a JVC, huh? I think it uses the same kind of tips. They even look like they're in the same package. And for the price of that name brand, a set of tips costs you almost as much as this. So you can buy these tips. I think I saw kits where they're 5, that they're about $3 or $4 a piece, something like that. So not too bad. But when it protects your iron by dropping the temperature, or even goes into hibernation or standby mode, that's pretty cool, right? I think that's neat. And I like this station. What do you guys think? Let me know what temperature you guys would program your 3 channels to, or what your standard temperature is for doing circuit boards. Yeah, I'd be curious about that. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching. 2 big thumbs up for Fnirsi for sending this out to me for free to review. That's really nice. Yeah, I can't afford to go off and buy all this stuff, so it's really nice that companies support the channel. And, you know, they don't tell you what to say or anything like that. They just ask you to put links to their stuff. So appreciate using the links. Gives me an affiliate return. Doesn't cost you anything extra. So, and it lets them know that you watched my video. So that's really great. But yeah, you can do a one-time donation and hit that super thank you button down below. Buy me a beer for a rant, cup of coffee, whatever. But also you can become a YouTube member. Thanks to my YouTube members and my supporters and my team member. Appreciate that. Danny. He's a team member. And also, I want to give 2 thumbs up to my patrons. Appreciate you guys. It's funny, last month I saw some changes in my Patreon. I went up 3, but I dropped 2. But I went up 1 though, so right? So yeah, that's awesome. It's a very slow growth, but hey, I'll take it. I appreciate everybody watching the channel, watching the reviews, and it's fun to review this stuff. I've got 2 nice stations now, use the same tips, so that's pretty amazing. Let me know what you guys think about this, and if you've got one, or if you've got the JBC, or maybe the Sunan, I think the other brand is. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Yeah, I got some boards I got to solder up. I got some kits to put together, so this is going to come in handy. Thanks for watching again, and we'll see you next time, guys.